I feel like I look so pasty right now, and I am pasty, I'll admit, but I'm like, what the hell? Hey y'all, I'm back with my favorite type of video. We're reading more Glitch in the Matrix. I'm shocked that we are not even done with this article yet. There's 100 stories. I've filmed like 3 of these so far, and I'm gonna have like 2 more. And if I'm being honest, we're gonna get right into it because I started reading this first one and I just need to know what happens. I love these so much. We're on 66. Had a dream of some kid that I had never seen before dancing at a busy party. He was wearing a blue shirt, black pants, had Bieber hair, and there were purple strobe lights on the wall behind him. Wake up, think to myself, what an odd dream, then carry on with my life. Several years later, I was at my cousin's wedding reception, chillin', hanging out with a different cousin. Music comes on and we start jumping up and down. And then I realized I was reliving the dream. Same clothes, same hair, same purple lighting in the background. Wait, was it you? Wait, was it you with the Bieber hair? Or there was another person there who looked like the person from your dream? I'm a little confused, but it's fine. I swear to God, my mom told me my cousin died from an overdose a year before he actually did. So when she told me and I replied, yeah, from an overdose, right? She was shocked that I already knew. I thought she was somehow messing with me until she showed me his death date. I still can't really explain that one. Edit. A lot of people are mentioning that he could have overdosed before and survived, making it that I assumed he died the first time. The weird thing is that I barely knew anything about this cousin. My mom's extended side is very big with 22 first cousins, 40 plus second cousins, etc. So there's a lot of cousins I've never met personally. I specifically only remember being told about his drug addiction in context of it contributing to his death, since my family speculates it was intentional and not accidental. Basically, I never really knew much about him while he was alive, so while it's very plausible I could have heard about him overdosing beforehand, the way I remember it is very different. Memory's a fickle thing though, so who knows? That's really scary and really sad. A couple of weeks ago, my dog Coda came into my room and started to try to jump on my bed, which she was successful of doing after a couple of tries, and I gave her a little nudge to, get off the bed. She jumped down and left. Then I heard my phone downstairs, so I walked down and get a call from my grandma who said she made some food. I said, okay, I'll stop by and come eat. I get my jacket on, get ready to leave, get my keys, grab my dog's leash to take her. We get in the car and drove about 10 minutes and arrived. I was eating and talking to my grandma and things, but when I was getting ready to leave, I couldn't find Coda. I searched everywhere in the backyard, in the front, outside, nowhere to be found. After a good hour of searching my grandma's neighborhood, it started to get dark. It was about 9:30, so I decided to come back and check the next day. I left and went to sleep. The next morning, I woke up because I heard something downstairs. To my surprise, it was my dog. At that point, I was like, wait, what? Later, I came back to my grandma's to tell her I found my dog. As soon as I arrived, I told her. After I told her about how Coda was home, I thought to myself, did I even bring her? I asked my grandma and she said yes, because I left the leash in her living room. I then asked my grandma to watch her footage on the cameras from last night, and there was no footage of Coda in the street or leaving the front door, but there was footage of her entering the house with me. I went home later, Coda was still there, and to this day I still don't know what happened. Those kinds of stories really freak me out because it wasn't just you experiencing it, like your grandma was like, no, you brought her, or him, I don't know. You brought Coda with you, the leash is here. And I just like, how do you have such like a clear memory of you bringing your dog, but you didn't? It freaks me out. I've read about this before. It's one of the weirdest things I've experienced. When my now ex-boyfriend had just gotten together, I went out and bought him some new shirts. We had just fallen in love and I saw a shirt that said "Love Life" on it in big red bold letters. The shirt was all white with only the words on the front. It was a little inside joke between us, I guess, because we would use the phrase to describe our life and named our business Love Life. He really loved it and wore it a lot before it sat in the closet for a couple of years. Well, a couple of years go by and let's just say Love Life was a horrible definition of our relationship. He was horrible. Anyways, I'm cleaning out the closets, getting rid of old clothes, and there's the shirt. I pull it out, and the shirt now reads, Low Life. The exact same way it looked before, but it says Low Life. I immediately ask him if he remembers the shirt and what it said, and he tells me Love Life. Well, as soon as I show him the shirt, he flips out the same way I did. Both of us know the shirt never said Low Life. Why would I buy anyone a shirt that said that, let alone my boyfriend? It's like I flipped dimensions into a reality where my ex-boyfriend was a complete abusive douche and it showed up in his shirt. Honestly though, you did say he was horrible, so it kind of fits and I kind of like it. I think it's kind of funny. Honestly, when you said you showed him, I thought he was gonna like freak out and be like, why did you buy this? It's not funny, this and that, but that's crazy. I was going to lunch with 2 coworkers discussing another coworker. The word coworker is in here so many times. One coworker made an assessment of the coworker we were discussing, and I agreed with him. He looked at me and said he didn't say that. He was thinking it. Coworker 2 agreed that he didn't even say it. That freaks me out. I don't like that. That's a short one, and thank God, because I don't need any more. I don't need any more from that. Was playing Minecraft with friends over Skype on my desktop PC when I disconnected from Minecraft. I was still chatting with everyone on Skype when I checked my browser that also wasn't functioning. So I got up and decided to check the router, announcing to everyone I was doing so. I checked it and it was fine, so still unable to connect, I asked the group, what should I do? And someone replied, check if it's actually plugged in. I stood up while saying, well, how am I still talking to you then? Assuming it was a bug or a partial disconnect. I, at this point, saw my Ethernet cable unplugged and about 2 centimeters away from the back of my machine. I announced this over Skype to everyone, and as soon as I did, the call dropped. This freaked me out for years until I saw a demo of someone scanning a VGA cable from across the room and managing to get an approximation of the picture. I guess I believe I don't know what the fuck this is saying, the VoIP part of the connection was able to make the jump across the centimeter or so gap or something. But I didn't move anything at any point, and my partner at the time witnessed it as well. Luckily, or I would have thought I was going crazy. Before anyone says it, I didn't have a Wi-Fi option and still don't. My motherboard 100% doesn't have Wi-Fi, and I definitely didn't have a card for it separately either. I had even theorized at the time it was some kind of surveillance installed covertly on my computer that routed my internet via a different medium, but either way it freaked me out. We'll never know for sure. I didn't know what half of that meant, and that's totally fine because it's creepy it's creepy no matter what. One time in the middle of the night, I heard somebody scream my name. They just suddenly screamed Charles at the top of their lungs. Nobody was there, and my parents were asleep. Later that same month, my dad was making coffee and heard me whisper in his ear, Dad. He turned and nobody was there. I have zero recollection of doing this. I have sleep paralysis a lot, which may explain the first one, but I have no idea how my dad heard me. I don't believe in ghosts, but this does creep me out. I feel like that one has to be paranormal. I'm so sorry, I do not think that's a glitch. I think you have a ghost. There was one morning before school when I randomly thought, I haven't heard Hey Ya in a long time. It was a good song though. Just a meaningless whatever while brushing my teeth. I arrive at school and all of my friends have Hey Ya stuck in their heads. Hey Ya, Hey Ya, it's Hey Ya. I feel like it's Ya. They were humming it all day, and when I asked them about it, they said they thought about it that morning. None of us had heard the song recently enough to all be reminded about it. That one's interesting. Going through my grandma's pictures after she died, we found a picture of my husband's mom and my grandma. This couldn't possibly be his mom, but it looked just like her. They also shared the same first and last name. No, we aren't related. We've had our DNA analyzed. I have some bad news for you, I think. We're on 75 already. We're speeding through this. I guess a little context is in order. My girlfriend and I had been together about a year at the time. Never had big problems, are both pretty relaxed people. Never have had a big fight, never have had trust issues, the whole shenanigan. So one day I was out in front of my apartment building smoking a cigarette. This was before we lived together. I had seen her the night before, had a nice dinner, gone out to a bar, then gone to my place, after which she took a taxi home. Standing out in front of my apartment building, she pulls up in a taxi. I wasn't expecting her and was pleasantly surprised to see her. Put out my cigarette, smiled, and walked up saying something like, "Hey, what are you doing here?" in a very friendly way. She scours at me and slaps me square across the jaw. Obviously, I'm dumbfounded and at a loss for words, so I just kind of looked at her, but she never said anything, just barged past me into the building. I followed her up to my apartment, asking her what was happening the whole way. She goes into my apartment, grabs her bag and some of her stuff she left there, throws a few things at me, breaking a glass or two and knocking down a bunch of stuff on a shelf. She calls me a pig, says she knows everything and that I've broken her heart. I'm trying to figure out what's going on, obviously, and she stops on her way out when I touch her sleeve, glares at me again and slaps me. She tells me something like, "I hope I never see you again," and walks out. I followed her to the street and she got in her cab and drove off. The street was pretty empty. It was maybe 8 or 9 a.m. and I watched her drive off. At this point, I'm just lost for words, scared and sad. Then, as I'm watching the cab drive away, someone hugs me around my waist from behind. I turn around and it's her in running clothes. She was wearing heels and a leather jacket before, and I went completely pale. She said hi in her usual happy-go-lucky tone, then noticed my look and said, "What's wrong?" I spun around. No taxi. It had literally driven away 5 seconds earlier, no way it could have turned in that time, and all the lights were red. I didn't say anything to her, just ran upstairs. Her bag was gone, things were still broken, my door still wide open, so then I told her. We were both momentarily confused, but there's no way I could have mixed her up with someone else, and she's an only child. We had security check the cameras, and sure enough, me following a girl to my apartment, the angles weren't great and the film wasn't great quality, but it was pretty easy to see me in my face, but hers always looked hard to make out. But it looked a hell of a lot like her, but never a clear shot. No way it was the same girl. Still creeps me the fuck out and we don't talk about it. That is, okay, that honestly has to be the weirdest one. I just don't even, I have no words for that. That's so scary. That has to be one of the craziest ones we've read. Like, honestly. Okay, 76. This has been playing on my mind for years now. I had a very realistic dream about a friend of mine when we were both 19. In that dream, he died, and we were sitting against a brick wall talking, and he was telling me that sometimes our time is up and to make the most of it and giving me some advice. I woke up the next morning and was freaked out, so I called him and told him about it. He laughed and said that would suck, but reassured me he was fine and not going anywhere. 2 days later, I had a call from his parents to say he had suddenly died in his sleep. The last time I spoke to him was when I called him after my dream. Oh my god, no, because that's the saddest thing ever. I don't like that. I've never used Reddit before, but a friend of mine was talking to me about the Glitch in the Matrix subreddit. So I decided to share my story here since I don't have any explanation for it almost 3 years later. Rewind back to 2015, I was a freshman who had just entered high school 2 weeks prior. Already school was weighing down on me and I had been continuing a habit I had of going on walks to clear my mind. On this day, I'd been walking around a pond near my house. There's a trail that goes around the pond, and then the trail leads up to a set of abandoned train tracks on the other side, which sit about 15 feet above the path and pond below. After walking the circle, I was crossing the train tracks when I decided I wanted ice cream. The fastest way to get to the ice cream shop was to take the path below the train tracks, but there isn't any way to cross the pond without going all the way back around, and being 14 years old, I decided I could just jump on the tracks onto the path below and keep walking. Looking down from above, it didn't seem to be that far of a jump, so that's what I did. The next thing I remember after that was being half conscious in an ambulance. Everything was extremely blurry and the paramedics sounded slightly panicked. I wasn't able to move either of my legs, so I think they were both broken. The scene continued on for a few minutes until we arrived at the hospital and I was wheeled into the emergency room on a stretcher. I only had a few minutes in the emergency room before I eventually lost all consciousness, and that was the last thing I saw. After I'd been unconscious for what felt like about an hour, I opened my eyes and I was on the ground. I had just hit the ground after jumping, but this time I was fully conscious. I hadn't noticed this before I jumped, but there had been a car parked watching me. I think they thought I was attempting, but it probably looked that way. The people in it had jumped out and called an ambulance for me. The ambulance ride had been the same it was the first time, and I was put into the emergency room that I had died in before, died. The only difference between the two events were that I was fully conscious this time, and my injuries were much more minor. I was discharged from the hospital the same night with only stitches in my lip, a slightly fractured jaw, and a mild concussion. For a while after this, I assumed the first scenario had just been a weirdly coincidental dream that I had while I was unconscious, so I didn't consider it abnormal. It wasn't until a few weeks later when my mom told me that the people who had helped me said that I had been conscious the entire time. I hadn't been knocked out after hitting the ground or anything, so that entire scenario managed to happen in the few seconds it took for me to hit the ground while I was still conscious. Those also freak me out so much when you die, but you don't. You're so sure that you died, you had a whole thing, and I'm so glad that you're not dead, but it's just, how does that happen? When I was around 20, a few years ago, I kept having dreams about a woman with long black hair named Aurora. There were different dreams, but for some reason, her distinct face and name always ended up in them. It got to the point where I would wake up frustrated and confused, trying to Google her name or find out how I was connected to her. After a few months, she stopped showing up and I dismissed it, thinking my brain was just being a scumbag. Fast forward a few years later, Halloween 2009. I'm in the car with a friend, stopped at a gas station. I'm about to pull out and merge onto a highway when I get a phone call from a random number, so I stopped the car, but no one answered. There was a person behind me who grew impatient, honked at me, then swerved in front of me instead of waiting for 2 seconds for me to move. The second they got on the highway, some silver Civic loses control of their wheel and crashes into the car that swerved in front of me. I called the cops and waited at the gas station for them to come. Turns out the drivers of both cars died. It would 100% would have been me if I hadn't got that phone call. Called it back a few hours later out of gratitude and curiosity, rang 3 times, then went to voicemail. Hi, you've reached Aurora, please leave your name and number. Never had goosebumps like that in my life. Same. Called it again the next day because I was that confused about the whole situation. Some woman answers, we get to talking, I tell her my entire story, including the dreams I had. She tells me she doesn't know how I got her number and that she never called me as far as she remembers. Weird. I asked her if she had a Facebook to confirm if she is in fact the woman from my dreams. Sorry, Nars messing with my tripod. Check her Facebook. Holy fuck, it's her. If that's not a glitch in the Matrix, then I'm batshit crazy. She saved your life and she's from your dreams. I don't get this. I don't get it. I know I've said that so many times. I don't get it. Let me fix this. We're on 79. I'm gonna go to 80 and then we're gonna call it a day. Driving home on a stormy day, I see the side road up to the local golf course is blocked off by flashing barricades. I also spy a Mercedes parked past the barricades with its hazards on. I stop and walk up to the car to see if they need help. I'm an EMT. I shine my light in the back seat to see a man slumped over, apparently asleep. Thinking I've got a few drunks, I move up to the driver window and tap on the glass and shine my light in. The driver is sitting bolt upright, unmoving, staring straight ahead. My window tapping or light doesn't cause him to blink, flinch, or move. I look over and the passenger is slumped forward on the dash. This begins to creep me out. I call down to the sheriff's station and request a code 2, no lights or sirens, unit up to my location to help me check them out. Doors are locked. While I'm on the phone, I walk back to my truck to get my go bag. As I'm on the phone with dispatch, she asked me to get a license number for the car, just as a PG&E, power company, cherry picker, truck what the fuck is this saying? Oh, sorry, asked me to get a license number for the car, just as a PG&E, power company, cherry picker truck comes rumbling down from up the closed road. I move to go around the truck to get the plate number and the car is gone. I talked to the driver of the truck and said there was an 80-foot tree down across the road and that he didn't think it would be open for a day or so. So the question is, where the hell did the car go? Tree up one way, barricades down the other. It's kept me a bit unsettled when stopping at accidents or hazards since then. What? No, but actually, where did it go? And last one, 80. This happened to me in 3rd grade and it scared me so much I started crying and had to go to the office to talk to the principal about it. I was in the hallway for misbehaving and my neighbor, Tad, a year younger than me, came walking out of class to my right, passed in front of me and headed down some stairs. We said hi to each other. About 20 seconds later, he walked out of the same class, passed in front of me and headed down the stairs. I just stared at him, confused and afraid, and he looked back like, why the fuck are you looking at me like that? I never realized how much it was like Matrix deja vu. No, honestly, that is really scary. Because I'd be like, how did you do that? How did you do that? Okay, and that's all I'm gonna read for now. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any weird glitch in the Matrix stories you would like to share with me or the community, I will have my subreddit linked down below. I love these. I would love to hear if you guys have had anything like this happen to you. And I'm gonna be so honest, Nar, please stop hitting my tripod. And I'm gonna be so honest, I have an appointment very soon. I actually need to leave like right now. That's why I had to cut it short. I would have kept reading if I didn't have an appointment, but now I have enough for another video. So it kind of works out. There's not gonna be any rambling because I do have to go, but I love you guys so much. I'm in a fucking rush. I shouldn't have filmed this now. I should have waited till after my appointment, but I thought I had enough time. I love you guys so much. I will see you in the next one. Bye.